Hi, I'm Calvin Lai, and I'm an assistant professor of psychological and brain sciences at Washington University in St. Louis. This video is about social identity and inclusion. We will consider the ways that threats to one's social identity can impact academic performance and well-being. This is the first video of a video series that explores how social identity and inclusion influence student success and provides evidence-based strategies for cultivating a more inclusive academic environment. An inclusive environment is one where students feel a sense of identity safety or confidence that their unique social identities will be valued and that it's safe to authentically express their ideas. In contrast, a less inclusive environment can create identity threat among students or concern that they will be treated poorly or unfairly because of their social identities. You may be familiar with one type of identity threat known as stereotype threat. And stereotype threat happens when there are social or physical cues in an environment that evoke a cultural stereotype about a particular group, and members of that group become worried about confirming that stereotype. And stereotype threat can often have negative effects on performance. Psychological research has demonstrated that anyone can experience identity threat because we all belong to social groups that are negatively stereotyped in one area or another. So for example, if female students are reminded of negative stereotypes about women's math and spatial abilities, they may underperform in introductory STEM courses. And in a similar fashion, if male students are reminded of negative stereotypes about how men are less emotionally competent, they may be less successful at reading the emotional cues of their peers. Identity threat can even happen when stereotypes seem positive, like with the assumption that Asian students are naturally gifted at math. These positive stereotypes still suggest that students will be judged based on their group membership rather than on their individual skills and efforts. Fortunately, the psychologists who study the causes and effects of identity threat have also developed strategies to prevent and overcome those effects. This video series will discuss barriers to inclusion and strategies that can foster inclusion with the overarching goal of helping you create an environment where all students feel a sense of identity safety. In other words, these videos will help you convey to students that their unique perspectives, which are influenced by their membership in a wide range of social groups, will be respected and valued, that they will be treated equitably, and that they will be evaluated based on their individual contributions rather than on their group membership. Now, we'll hear from peer leaders who have either experienced identity threat themselves or have witnessed and addressed threats to students' identities while leading peer groups.
Hi, I'm Lucia Grandison. I'm a sophomore majoring in P&P with a minor in computer science. The underrepresentation of minorities in STEM fields can play into people's perceived ability to succeed in STEM classes, and also in peer learning situations. This has a lot of personal relevance for me. The fall of my first year at WashU, I took Calc 2, and it was my first experience in a big lecture setting. None of the professors in the department looked like me, and none of the math majors that I knew looked like me. So I thought, there's just no way that I'm going to be able to succeed in this class. This is just not made for me. I was in a PLTL group that fall, and after the first few sessions, I got to know my PLTL leader. She told me that she also didn't think she was a math person when she took Calc 2, but she worked hard, was diligent, went to PLTL, did all of the practice problems, and got out of the class what she put into it. So then I thought, okay, here's somebody who doesn't fit the mold of what you would think when you think STEM major, but she put in the work and she did well. And I was like, maybe there's something to this. So I worked really hard that semester, and now I'm a PLTL leader. It's a really great experience, and I think if there's anything that PLTL leaders can do, it's to encourage students to work hard, even if they don't think that they fit into the mold of what a math major or a STEM person might look like, because that's just a stereotype. And it's not true. As long as you put in the work, you can be successful.
Hi, my name is Chris Chow. I'm a junior studying biology and mathematics, and I've been a Calculus 3 PLTL leader for 2 years. In PLTL sessions, especially in calculus, there's often a divide between genders, because traditionally math has been a male-dominated field. A lot of the times, men are the ones answering questions and being more vocal, whereas women seem more likely to keep to themselves and won't be as vocal or interact as much with the group. One of the things I've done to help this situation and break up the initial awkwardness in small group activities is have students of different genders pair up, so that the group can get to know each other better and become more cohesive. This helps to bridge the gender divide and improve rapport.
Hello, my name is Harry Kisowski. I'm an economics and math double major, and I've been a Calculus 1 peer leader for 2 years. Last semester, an African American student came up and talked to me after one of the sessions. She said, "I really like PLTL and everything has been great, but in my PLTL course for Chem, I feel like I'm getting left behind and the other students are moving too quickly." I asked her if she had talked to her PLTL leader for Chem, and she said no, because she felt uncomfortable as the only black student in that group. She didn't want to seem stupid by asking about things that everyone else already seemed to understand. This is a problem we sometimes see in PLTL, where one student feels like he or she is behind other students in terms of how quickly they can learn or conceptualize the material. Usually, the problem can be solved by encouraging students to talk to the peer leader and voice any concerns, but I think it's easy to overlook the racial dynamic in this. The process was more difficult for her because she is black, and all the other students are white. She felt like she wasn't as included as the rest of the students in the group, and she was constantly reminded of her minority status. It's hard for me as a white male to relate to her, because I've never felt out of place in a group based on my race or my gender. I think this is something to be aware of as a peer leader, and it's important to make sure students feel comfortable talking to you and asking questions, even if it's after the session without the other students around.
Recall that stereotype threat is a form of identity threat that occurs when people become concerned that they might confirm or be expected to confirm negative stereotypes about a group to which they belong. This anxiety surrounding one's actions can lead to a decrease in academic performance. Students of color and first-generation college students may be at particular disadvantage given the historical obstacles faced in education by students belonging to these groups. Students experiencing stereotype threat may feel extra pressure to succeed, which can tax their cognitive resources and impair their performance on challenging tasks such as exams. It has been shown that stereotype threat can limit memory capacity and may even activate a physiological stress response. Students attempting to perform while experiencing these conditions will be at a disadvantage. And for this reason, it's been argued that stereotype threat may account for some of the identity-based gaps seen in academics. Stereotype threat can result from social cues, such as the behavior of faculty members or other students, or from situational cues in the academic environment, such as the underrepresentation of certain racial and ethnic groups in college science courses. For a student of color, simply looking around the room can make one's racial identity salient. Another example occurs in engineering computer science, where men represent a large proportion of students taking these courses. Women may notice this disparity and experience stereotype threat as a result. A related concept affecting one's identity is implicit bias. In contrast to outward, explicit biases targeting people of a particular group, implicit biases are relatively unconscious or uncontrolled biases that one holds toward people of different groups. These biases may portray group members in either favorable or unfavorable ways. An important component of implicit bias is that people are often unaware and unable to control their biases, and this may lead to unintentional discrimination against certain groups of people. For example, because of stereotypes prevalent in education about the high mathematical ability of Asian students, professors may unintentionally assume that an Asian student will understand how to solve a math problem with little explanation. And as a result, they may unwittingly spend more time helping students in other racial groups. Similarly, implicit biases may lead faculty to mentor some students less than others based on views they may hold regarding the academic capabilities of students belonging to particular racial groups or gender. Implicit biases develop over the course of one's lifetime and can be difficult to change. Instead of changing the underlying implicit biases of people, it is better to focus on controlling implicit biases' subtle influence on your behavior. In other words, change the situation so that we don't act on our implicit biases in the first place. For example, as a grader, we might be influenced by a student's name at the top of an assignment. A student's name can tell us what their race and gender are. So what we can do is we can use blind grading procedures, such as student ID numbers, to remove subjective biases from grading assignments like papers or short answer questions. Using a grading rubric with clearly defined criteria and being fully transparent about the grading process can also help to reduce bias so that implicit biases don't leak in and inform our judgments. To create an identity-safe environment when working with students, here are 6 things you can do. First, convey high standards and assure students of their ability to meet those standards. Teach students to view critical feedback as reflective of feedback givers' high standards and confidence in their ability to meet those standards. Second, while discussing the PLTL philosophy and during a discussion, remind students that it is the ideas or justifications that are being challenged, not the students themselves. Therefore, be mindful of the other people's perspectives. When you are delivering a counter-justification or questioning someone's justification, keep in mind how the other person may receive it. Similarly, when your idea is being questioned, keep in mind that the discussion is about the idea or justification and not a personal challenge to you. Third, help students find similarities they have with other students and appreciate one another's unique backgrounds. Fourth, if an issue occurs during your session, it is important at the moment to acknowledge that an issue has occurred. If you feel comfortable addressing the issue, please do so at that time, but it's perfectly fine to make a commitment to discuss the issue with the group at the next session. Fifth, in group work, stress the importance of interdependence. Working together will help students consider alternative perspectives and learn new information. Finally, remind students that knowledge and learning are improved by conversation and collaboration among disparate viewpoints. Respectfully challenging viewpoints and the justifications of others is part of learning. It is essential, however, that students be respectful to others and allow everyone a chance to speak.